The Union Budget for 2025 allocated a record 4,49,000 crore to the gender budget, marking a 37% increase for FY24, according to and accounting for 8.86% of total budget. This rise is primarily due to inclusion of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which accounts 24% of the gender budget, rather than being driven by substantial investment in care infrastructure or new gender-responsive schemes. Despite this increase, critical investment in care infrastructure remain absent, reinforcing persistent invisibilization of care work in India's economic planning. While the economic surveys of 23-24 and 24-25 highlight care infrastructure as central to women's empowerment, the current budget misses the opportunity to make tangible investments to strengthen India's care economy in line with its socio-economic realities. Globally, women spend an average 17.8% of their time on unpaid care and domestic work, with women in Global South bearing higher burdens. India is especially concerning as Indian women shoulder 40% more of this burden and their counterparts in Africa and China. The International Labour Organization reports 53% of Indian women remain outside the labour force due to care responsibilities compared to just 1.1% of men, underscoring entrenched inequities. For poor and marginalized women, this burden is severe as women in low income families often juggle 17 to 19 hours of daily tasks, balancing paid work with domestic duties, intensifying time poverty and eroding their well being. Feminist economists from Global South emphasize that unpaid work in these regions encompasses a broader range of tasks compared to Global North, extending beyond household care, giving to include work on family farms, water and fuel collection, cleaning and cooking. Limited access to essential infrastructure such as water, clean energy, and sanitation means women spend up to 73% of their time on these unpaid activities. For example, women spend nearly 5 hours daily collecting water compared to 1.5 hours for men. Climate change exacerbates this burden, with water related unpaid labor in India projected to reach $1.4 billion by 2050 under the high emission scenario. This stems from low public investment in care infrastructure and entrenched social norms that assign care work to women. The Economic Survey 23-24 highlights the direct public investment, an equivalent to 2% of GDP, could generate 11 million jobs while easing the care burden. Applying the expanded 3R framework, recognize, reduce, redistribute, and represent, can ensure policies that are both contextually relevant and transformative. The first step is recognizing the full spectrum of UCDW women perform. India's 2019 Time Use Survey marked milestone in acknowledging this issue, is revealing that women spend an average of 7 hours daily on unpaid care work. Unpaid care and domestic work, despite the policy benefits that these surveys carry, their cost can make implementation challenging. One solution is to integrate time use modules into existing household surveys, and the second step is reducing the UCDW burden through time saving technologies and expanded access to affordable care infrastructure. The center has acknowledged gaps in access to essential services by extending the Jal Jeevan mission until 2028, aiming for 100% portable water coverage. However, funding delays and underutilization hinder implementation, while the scheme's budget declined by 4.51% from last year's budget estimates. It saw 19.5% jump over revised estimates, highlighting allocation spending gaps. With less than half of villages having functional household tap connections, JGM requires stronger implementation and water sustainability measures, expanding childcare centers, elder care support, and assistive technologies would ease women's care burden and boost their workforce participation. The third key is redistributing care work from the home to the state and within households. The newly announced 1 lakh crore Urban Challenge Fund with 10,000 crore allocated for FY 25-26 can be transformative. The newly announced 1 lakh crore Urban Challenge Fund with 10,000 crore for FY 25-26 can be transformative. This will finance up to 25% of the bankable projects, encouraging private and public sector participation in urban development, water and sanitation initiatives. By leveraging this fund, India can scale up pilot care infrastructural models already underway through the Smart City mission, taking inspiration from Bogota's care blocks, which centralize caregiving services to reduce women's unpaid work. This approach aligns with the fund's broader goal of sustainable urban development. Finally, women's representation in decision making and implementation is crucial in creating gender transformative policies. Excluding women from this leaves them vulnerable to policies that fail to address their lived realities. In fact, involving women in decision making processes enhances their effectiveness significantly, sometimes 6 to 7 times. With centers' emphasis on Nari Shakti as the driver of economic growth, India has the opportunity to set a global example for the gender and care sensitive economy. However, the current budget falls short by not prioritizing care as a central pillar. A more deliberate, well funded strategy is necessary to ensure that care work is not treated as an afterthought but as a core component of inclusive growth. Direct public investment equivalent to 2% of GDP could generate 11 million jobs while easing the care burden. 3R framework recognize, reduce, distribute, and represent can ensure policies are more contextually relevant and transformative. The first step is recognizing the full spectrum of unpaid care and domestic work women perform. Second step is reducing the unpaid care and domestic work burden through time-saving technologies and expanded access to affordable care infrastructure. Acknowledge gaps to essential services by extending Jal Jeevan Mission until 2028. While the scheme's budget declined, and the third key step is to redistribute care work, redistributing care work from home to the state and within households. Recognize, reduce, redistribute, and represent. Recognize, reduce, redistribute, and represent. Women in South India, Delhi, and Punjab have high levels of obesity. Mind our language, the variations in Hindi and English speaking across India. Data shows that people in non Hindi states are willing to learn and speak new languages, while the same cannot be said for those in the Hindi belt. Moreover, those in the south have gravitated towards English as the secondary language, with share of Hindi speakers remaining stagnant, which explains why resistance to policies such as three language formula is more pronounced in the south. First, data indicates that non-Hindi speakers are generally more open to learning new languages with the pattern established. Charts 3 and 4 examine the choice of second and third languages. This brings us to the core utilitarian question: which language best equips citizens in their pursuit of better opportunities? A comparison of HDI scores across states and union territories reveals a clear trend. Regions with higher share of English speakers tend to have higher HDI scores, while states with a greater portion of Hindi speakers generally exhibit lower HDI scores. This suggests a positive correlation between the higher standard of living and a greater prevalence of English proficiency. Migration data further reinforces this pattern. Reports from the Economic Advisory Council to the PM and multiple indicators survey indicate that a significant number of people from Hindi speaking states are moving to non Hindi speaking regions. Why have Cognizant and Infosys filed lawsuits against each other? The case is a marker for bitter rivalry between Indian IT majors. often offering similar services, and underlines the need for a rulebook for senior level executives transitioning between them. Previously, legal action was avoided out of respect, but now there is a need for clear guidelines. In August 24, TriZetto, a Cognizant subsidiary and healthcare solutions provider, took Infosys to court alleging that the IT major has stolen data from their proprietary software. 4 months later, in January, Infosys denied allegations and filed a countersuit against Cognizant CEO Ravi Kumar S., former Infosys executive, for deliberately delaying the launch of its healthcare platform. Helix Infosys alleged that US headquartered IT firm resorted to anti-competitive activities like poaching key personnel and imposing restrictive contractual barriers, and stopped its clients from going to competitors and even declining training them on Infosys software. Helix Infosys alleged that US headquartered IT firm resorted to anti-competitive policies like poaching key personnel and imposing restrictive contractual barriers that stopped its clients from going to competitors and even declining training them on Infosys software. The Bengaluru-based IT giant claimed triple damages it suffered, along with legal costs. The case spotlights a bitter rivalry between the two major IT service providers that offer similar services and underline the need for a rulebook for senior level executive transitions. The lawsuit, filed by Cognizant and U.S. District Court for the North District of Dallas, Texas, states that Infosys has breached multiple non-disclosure agreements to illegally access their software applications, facets, and QNXT. The misappropriated data from these solutions was then allegedly leveraged by Infosys to build their own flagship healthcare software, Infosys Helix. Both these software solutions work on automating cumbersome administrative tasks for health insurance companies like processing claims, billing, and enrollment numbers. The complaint noted that Infosys has copied TriZetto's software, repackaging it with developing software to extract confidential data from QNXT. When confronted, Infosys obfuscated to the maximum extent possible, asking TriZetto to simply trust based on nothing that there had been no wrongdoing. When TriZetto refused to take Infosys on its word and demanded an audit of Infosys' use of TriZetto's information, and explicitly permitted under NDAs for any reason, much less rampant trade secret appropriation, Infosys refused to comply, Cognizant said. Executives frequently switching between IT majors are not uncommon, but tensions were building between Infosys and Cognizant for some time regarding this issue. For instance, there was a case of Rajesh Warrior, a former Infosys executive who served as the EVP, head of global services, and Infosys America. On September 2, Rajesh Warrior was appointed as the global head of operations at Cognizant. Mr. Kumar, who has held the position of president and deputy COO at the Infosys, departed in October 22 and assumed top role at Cognizant in January 23. The recent move has escalated the situation. Infosys countersuit revealed its anger. It explained that Mr. Kumar had initially praised Infosys Helix during at the time at Infosys, calling it a challenger to the traditional platform. However, his enthusiasm for the product waned randomly in early 22. Consequently, any support he had provided for the platform gradually diminished as he stopped requesting the necessary resources. They ultimately delayed the project's completion by 18 months. Notably, the filing doesn't merely mention Mr. Kumar. There's also Shweta Arora, former SVP and Global Head of Domain Consulting Service at the Infosys, who transitioned to Cognizant at the end of 23. So what's the history of non-compete litigation besides the complications surrounding the charges of data theft and unethical conduct? There's recent precedent of non-compete cases involving Cognizant. Last year, Jitin Dalal, the former chief financial officer of Nasdaq listed IT firm Wipro, was sued by his former employer. Talal, who has spent 21 years at Wipro, resigned in 23 and joined Cognizant as the new CFO. So, over the last few years, there has been a noticeable increase in executive moving from major IT companies, with competitors actively recruiting even the non executive employees. The American scientist drafted famous Hiroshima Appeal, Linus Pauling, empowering Indian youth for global leadership in science and innovation for Viksit Bharat. How many languages are recognized as per part of constitutions under 8th schedule? And which language has a country's name in it? What is common to Bodo, Dogri, Kashmiri and Maithili, Santali, Sindhi that are part of the recognized languages? Second highest number of native speakers after Hindi. I think it's Bengali. In which language was Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas set Maithili or Avdi? Thanks to consonant-vowel combination forming a unique character, which Indian language has a whopping 247 characters in the traditional classification. Court orders FIR against SEBI chief, five others. Market regulator says it will challenge order by Mumbai court. Plaint alleges large-scale financial fraud, regulatory violations. A special court here has directed the Anti-Corruption Bureau to register FIR against the former SEBI chairperson Madhabi Puri Poch, three whole-time members, three whole-time members of the market regulator and two BSE officials on charges of alleged stock market fraud. The securities SEBI said it would take legal steps to challenge the order. The order came just 2 days after Mr. Bush completed the tenure as SEBI chief. Union minister's daughter harassed in Maharashtra to held the union minister on Sunday complained to the Muktan Nagar police in Jalgaon district of Maharashtra demanding the immediate arrest of those involved in harassment of her teenage daughter. Nurture all languages, no need for confrontational stance, says Vice President. EPFO claims huge liability in dispersing higher pension. Pensioner rights activists and trade union representatives on its board question EPFO stand on the issue, say the organization is only highlighting inflated liability to create a wrong hype. Jobs rising but salary is not keeping pace with inflation. Niti Aayog member pegs lack of skills as the main reason, calls for focus on developing skills at all levels. Arvind Veermani had said while employment is increasing in India, real wages for real growth, real jobs have not kept pace with inflation over the past 7 years. India has an opportunity in terms of global population, and there is a need to take advantage of it. According to PLFS, the worker population ratio has been clearly increasing in the last 7 years. This means more number of jobs is increasing. This means that the number of jobs is increasing more than the population growth. Number of jobs is increasing more than the population growth. There are fluctuations in this too, but the trend shows that jobs are increasing. Therefore, it is wrong to say that jobs are not increasing. According to PLFS 23-24, the worker population ratio in terms of persons of all ages increased from 20-43% from 34%. But the bigger issue is in case of regular salaried jobs. In this category, real wages have not increased in line with inflation in 7 years, the economist said. As far as my assessment is concerned, The main reason for wages not increasing as per inflation is lack of skills. We are not hiring skilled workers. I have seen the data of many countries based on that. I would say that we need to work on this skilling. It is very weak. It is in a very weak state. The central government is taking steps. States also need to work in this direction. Work needs to be done at district level because jobs will be created there. Syria forms committee to draft transitional framework text. Iranian lawmakers sack finance minister over economic woes. US aircraft carrier arrives in South Korea after North test fires missiles. Pro-Russian candidate Gunbar declared winner in Abkhazia vote. Israel cuts off Gaza aid to pressure Hamas to accept the new ceasefire deal. Russia praises Trump, blames Europe for prolonging war. In a first private US spacecraft lands upright on the lunar surface, a US company successfully landed its spacecraft on the moon on Sunday, marking only the second private mission to achieve the milestone. Firefly Aerospace Blue Ghost Mission 1 touched shortly after near Mons Latrell, a volcanic formation in Mare Crisium on the moon's northeastern side. You all struck the landing, we are on the moon. Blue Ghost carries 10 instruments, including a lunar soil analyzer, a radiation-tolerant computer, and an experiment testing and feasibility of using a global satellites designed to operate for a full lunar day, 14 Earth days. Blue Ghost is expected to capture high-definition imagery of a total eclipse on March 14. Euclid's Space Telescope discovers new Einstein ring in nearby galaxy NGC 6505. Other five gravitational lenses in similar distances have been found so far. Recently, Euclid Space Mission spotted galaxy NGC 6505. An astronomer named Altieri first noticed the Einstein ring in 2023 in blurry image captured by Euclid. Einstein predicted that light will not travel on a straight line in the vicinity of massive objects. A massive object in the foreground of a light source acts as a gravitational lens, distorting and amplifying light in the same way as a magnifying glass distorts the path of light. Euclid began to scan the sky formally on February 14 and is expected to discover 10,000 new gravitational lenses. Its chances of discovering lenses so close to the Earth, however, remain slim because the smaller volume of the universe available to look in. Election Commission to remove some voter ID number across states. Poll panel says it will ensure each voter gets a unique epic number. Blames manual method employed earlier for duplication. Trinamool says panel admissions proves charge of fraud. Ukraine, other nations will work on Ukraine deal. Starmer, Ukraine will work with France and other countries to arrive at a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia and present that to US Donald Trump. The sequence of events was outlined by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. NEP will not impose Hindi on state's education minister. Congress will oppose delimitation of Lok Sabha. Congress will oppose delimitation of Lok Sabha constituencies. Enforcing prohibition In Bihar, village guards caught between police and the liquor mafia. If Andhra Pradesh suspends IPS officer for unauthorized foreign visits for allegedly making unauthorized foreign visits in violation of All India Service Conduct Rules. DGP rank officer who was waiting for posting was placed under suspension under Rule 3 of All India Service Discipline and Appeal Rules 1969. More than a century ago, Albert Einstein predicted that massive objects like large galaxies and clusters of galaxies, acts as giant lenses in space by bending light from distant objects. As seen from an observer on the Earth, a rare alignment of background object with such a lens in the foreground can lead to a visual spectacle. Because of the lensing, the observer sees arc-like structures skirt the foreground lens. Sometimes these arcs are arranged in a circular pattern, which is called Einstein ring. Recently, Euclid Space Mission and European Space Agency spotted an Einstein ring in the galaxy NGC 6505, just 590 million light years from the Earth. This may sound like a long distance, but on an astronomical scale, the galaxy is veritably in our cosmic backyard. As an astronomer named Bruno Altieri first noticed Einstein ring in September 23 in a blurry image captured by Euclid, which ESA had launched only 2 months earlier. Image was unfocused by design because in the initial days of the mission, scientists were taking data to test if all of the Euclid systems were functioning properly. Subsequent images of the galaxy yielded focused images, using which scientists confirmed the presence of the ring. Einstein predicted that light will not travel on a straight path when moving in the vicinity of massive objects. He argued that large objects distort space-time, the fabric of space and time around it, just like a curvature of a hammock is determined by the mass of a person sitting on it. The idea forms the basis of Einstein's famous general theory of relativity, which the American physicist John Wheeler summed up perfectly in following words: matter tells space-time how to curve, and curved space-time tells matter how to move. The massive object in the foreground, called gravitational lens, distorts and amplifies the light coming from background sources in the same way a magnifying glass distorts the path of light scattered by a background object. That said, a gravitational lens is not as perfectly shaped as magnifying glass and may produce multiple images of a background object. The number of images depends on the relative distance between the lens and the observer, and this quirky cosmic phenomena is called strong gravitational lensing. The multiple images can appear in a variety of configurations around the lens and can assume slightly different shapes and sizes depending on distribution of matter in it. An Einstein ring is a special case of strong gravitational lensing. Astronomers discovered the first Einstein ring in 1998, more than 80 years after Einstein predicted their existence. An Einstein ring is created when gravitational lens distorts light coming from distant background object like a star or a galaxy in such a way that multiple images created in the foreground form a circular pattern around the lens. This requires a near perfect alignment between the distant object, lens, and the observer. All Einstein rings have great scientific value, but Altieri's ring is extra special because scientists have observed in a well nearby galaxy NGC 6505. Scientists have found only 5 other gravitational lenses at similar distances so far. Altair's ring is composed of distorted images of another galaxy 4.5 billion years ago. Since NGC 6505 have been known to astronomers since the 19th century, the ring's discovery shows how turning new telescopes to target old tar- uh, how turning new telescopes to old targets can still yield valuable new language knowledge. The study of Einstein rings can also provide new insights into the universe's expansion and provide opportunities to test the theory of general relativity and investigate distant objects that are otherwise obscured. They can help astronomers understand the nature of dark matter, a mysterious form of matter that comprises around 30% of the total mass energy budget of the universe, yet remains undetected because it doesn't interact with the normal matter of which you and I are made. The presence of dark matter can only be inferred from gravitational effect it has on matter surrounding it, or by bending light around itself. Following the discovery of Altair's ring in September 23, Euclid scientists further investigated this system for more insights using other telescopes. This way, for example, data from Keck Cosmic Web's imager obtained in March 24 confirmed the lensed nature of images. Together with data from archives of the Canada-France-Hawaii Telescope and Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, scientists also confirmed the total mass of stars and distance to NGC 6505 in the lensed galaxy. Euclid began to scan the sky formally on February 4, 24 and is expected to discover 1 lakh new gravitational lenses in the universe. Planetary Parade Worlds on Show. In a small window of time around February 28, people on Earth were in a visual treat as 7 planets plus the moon lined up on the night sky. These events are called planetary parades because planets seem to line up one behind the other. So that's all for today. See you tomorrow.